Alright guys, so in this video we're going to be taking a look at 10 of the biggest skyscrapers that were never built, and shout out to this website for supplying me with some of the ideas for this article. We're going to go all the way back starting in 1908, take a look at these designs, take a look at the renderings. What are some of the biggest projects, the biggest buildings that did not come to fruition, that did not actually happen, starting with the hotel attraction, which was a design back in 1908. It was for a skyscraper for the current World Trade Center site in Manhattan that would have equaled the height of the Eiffel Tower. And this is a very interesting design, especially considering it was 1908. You know, back then we couldn't really build that high. Something as tall as the Eiffel Tower is pretty remarkable, and you can take a look at the way it looks right there. It was proposed that the building would be encrusted with glass tiles salvaged from the debris around the city in Manhattan. So that's a very unique design. You can see it kind of gets thinner and thinner as it goes up into one kind of actual building, skyscraper right there. Next, it is the Tatlin Tower by Vladimir Tatlin in 1919. This massive structure of iron, steel, and glass was to be proposed as kind of a show of strength for the Soviet Union in 1919. Now, the overall renderings of it, very interesting spiral design with kind of a support beam going down at like a 35-degree angle. Unfortunately, especially with earlier renderings, there's just not a lot of in-depth actual photos of it. Looks like they brought it out and did one of those scale smaller models right there. Next, it is the Palace of the Soviets. So this is one that I remember. I used to research World War II pretty extensively. This was proposed back in 1931 when Stalin announced an open competition to design a huge new Congress Hall in Moscow. Many of the world's most renowned architects submitted entries, and the final project winner was a proposed monument that toppled out at 260 feet high, which was a statue of Vladimir Lenin, and you could actually go up in the towers, and then there was the statue. So this was a remarkable structure that broke ground in 1937. It was halted in 1941 with Operation Barbarossa and World War II breaking out. They're not going to build a crazy monument. They need the material for the war. It's very similar to the Volkshall, which is not on this list, but that was Germany's plan, which would have just been a ridiculous dome. They actually said the Volkshall was big enough to where there would be so much condensation coming from the people on the floor, it would create clouds on the ceiling. I'm not sure if that was true or just something that kind of sounds cool to say, but it is, the idea of it is remarkable. But it's kind of like, it's interesting. You had Germany versus Russia, you know, in World War II, not only in terms of the on-the-ground fighting, but also the Palace of the Soviets versus the Volkshall. You also had the Deutsches Stadium in Nuremberg, which was the massive planned stadium, Olympic stadium that would have sat over 400,000 people, which is just ridiculous. It doesn't even make sense. Next, it is the Illinois, which was a mile-high skyscraper that was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright in 1956. Designed for Chicago, the Illinois. That's such a clean name. Remember the Facebook. Drop the. It's. I mean, listen. When you put the word the word "the" in front of stuff, it does make it sound clean. The Illinois would have contained a staggering 528 stories with well over 18 million square feet of floor space. Frank Lloyd Wright was convinced the structure, which would have been over 4 times the height of the Empire State Building, could be built despite a number of challenges, including high, uncontrollable winds. The building bears a striking resemblance to the Kingdom Tower in Saudi Arabia, set to be the world's tallest building. when it completes, and apparently it did already finish building in 2020, but the Illinois, I do remember reading about it when I was younger, just a massive skyscraper designed in 1956. The next one, if you've ever been on Wikipedia, I'm sure you know this project, the Exceed 4000, which was an idea that originated in 1995. This was an absolute behemoth mega project, mega city that would have cost billions and billions of dollars. It was designed to accommodate up to 1 million inhabitants and has been cited as the tallest building ever fully envisioned. Soaring 2.5 miles high, the self-contained city would include a system of trains to enable the populace to move around within the megastructure. This is a remarkable thing. When you look at the renderings, it's kind of a joke because it's literally above the clouds. This is something that I remember looking at, again, on Wikipedia when I was younger, and it was just a remarkable thing to see that was actually envisioned. Would something like this ever happen in the future to where you could actually enclose an entire city in some type of, dome-type structure, kind of like an MLB team or an NFL team does with a stadium? Would that be possible for an entire city? It is a crazy, crazy idea. And right now, certainly, it seems like the next move for cities is the whole smart city idea, making everything green and turning the industrialized city into kind of a green rooftop, green area. That's what they're really going for next. So I don't see this happening anytime soon. It just costs so much money. The next thing is the World Trade Center Memorial Square. So this is a very weird design, and I didn't even know this was a thing, but apparently there were dozens and dozens of different designs after the 9/11 disaster in New York. What would happen? Would you just rebuild the Twin Towers identically? They end up settling on One World Trade Center, but you can see this was an idea that was done in 2002. Its master plan was a LASIK-like structure of towers linked by soaring sky bridges and fingers that formed an extension to the city grid. At their bases, the towers would have formed gateways to a large memorial park, including green spaces that would show respect to the original Twin Towers. It looks like a number. You know how like a number sign. That's what it looks like to me. So I would imagine that's part of why they didn't go with this design. I would have to agree. The design is flawed. It just does not look very good. Next, it is an idea of the Asian CAIRNS, which was from 2013. These were large-scale concepts inspired by biological processes of natural organisms. And you can see, yes, this is kind of what we're looking at when people envision future cities. But these are interesting structures that really aren't symmetrical at all. There's really no rhyme or reason to them just looking at them. It's like they're skyscrapers that were put together wrong almost. But that's the whole idea. It says each pebble-like capsule is designed to house a different typology, including indoor orchards and other types of agriculture throughout the complex. So that is a very, very unique structure-looking design that I really haven't seen anywhere. Next, we have the Conceptual Tower, which was an idea back in 2015 by Mark Foster Gage, asked to design a new skyscraper for New York City's 57th Street, otherwise known as Billionaire's Row, due to the recent luxury residential towers. Mark Foster Gage caused a stir across the internet with a crazy Gothic-inspired structure that breaks away from the modernist styles of the adjacent towers. Encrusted with plenty of balconies and other decorative details, the building reads as a single entity from afar. And this is a crazy, crazy design for a massive skyscraper. There are several photos of it. It does look completely out of place in New York City. I mean, there's no reason why. There's an obvious reason why they decided to not go with this idea. The architecture of it is just beautiful, but it just does not fit the city design at all. It would stick out like a complete sore thumb, even looking at it from, half a mile away. It's just so, it is just not the style. It's just such a medieval type design. I think it's really cool. It's a great idea, but probably not for New York City. Either way, that one is another sweet, bigger idea that didn't end up happening. That was from 2015. So guys, I just wanted to go over some of the craziest structures / skyscrapers that didn't end up getting built. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.